Hi, I'm Pony, and I think tonight we're going to have a very good show. It's been 1 week since I started HRT. I'm about to give you an update. Join me. I am Pony Horton, and welcome to Pony's Transmission. I'm old, I'm trans, get off my lawn. First week report. It's been 1 week since I started HRT. You saw me take the first pill last week. Obviously, there haven't been any changes yet. It's only been 1 week. However, a couple of things have happened that I've at least noted. Maybe it's my imagination. Maybe it's not. We'll decide later. The first thing is I've started having more vivid dreams just in the last 4 days. I normally don't dream heavily because I am a cannabis user. I smoke a good deal of cannabis, dealing with PTSD, which I'll talk about later. And cannabis naturally suppresses dreams, or at least the memory of them. Well, now I've been having them and remembering them to a certain degree. The other thing that's happened is really unusual for me. I've started feeling hot. Normally when I sleep, I don't wear any clothes at all. I've been that way since I was a teenager. But I've always slept on a comforter or a quilt. I just like the coziness. I like the weight of it. I like the warmth. I'm a naturally chilly person. By that I mean my thermometer, my thermostat, I should say, is set at 75 all year round. I'm a child of the warm climates, and to me, 70 or 60 chilly. So even in the summertime, I generally sleep under a comforter or a quilt. Well, this week, it just felt too stuffy and hot and constricting. For the first time that I can recall ever, I slept completely without anything covering me at all, and with the window open. And that's highly unusual for me. So, I don't know, maybe those are interesting signs or symptoms. Maybe they're not. Who knows? So before we go any further, I thought I'd entertain you briefly with a little bit of Pony Show and Tell. Title right across there. Don't you love that? I can make titles appear and disappear. Sorry about that. They're new. So, first thing, this makes a wonderful gift. This is the tooth of a T-Rex. It really is. It's actually a casting of the tooth of a T-Rex made by a company that makes these for museums. They make dinosaur skeletons of all sizes, and they make them using urethane, resin, fiberglass, materials like that. When you go to a museum and you're looking at dinosaur bones, most of the time you're not actually seeing real fossils or bones, you're seeing castings of them. If they do have real ones, they're going to be down in the basement, locked away in special storage areas or areas where they can be studied. The real bones would be much too delicate and rare to put on display, so they put on these castings. In the old days they were made of plaster, and now they're made, as they say, of urethane or fiberglass. Anyway, the company that makes this particular one is called Valley Anatomical Preparations. They're in Southern California. They have nothing to do with this, by the way. I bought these myself years ago. There's no sponsorship or anything like that. I'm just mentioning their name because if you want to get one, you can call them. They make these, now they're selling about 20 bucks. And it actually has this base where you could put it on your shelf or tabletop. If you notice these holes right there, those are where the nerves went in and the blood vessels went into the bone. This is part of the maxillary jaw, I believe, and this is one of the major teeth. So yeah, you can get this from Valley Anatomical, and think of it this way, these make great gifts. How many people do you know that have a T-Rex tooth? And how many people do you know give them away as gifts? You get one or two of these and give them, well, you're going to make some points with your friends and loved ones. Anyway, that's show and tell number 1. Show and tell number 2. If you're a movie fan, you'll recognize this. It's the Black Bird. It's the stuff that dreams are made of. It's the Maltese Falcon. Again, made by Valley Anatomical Preparations. This is clearly a replica. The pattern of the feathers and the style and texture of them is a bit different from the prop scene in the film, but it's close enough for me. I like it. I actually made a film with it years and years and years ago. And so you can always get one of these also. You'll be out to hatchery in 20 years. I'll be waiting for you if they don't hang you by that sweet neck. wait a minute, I've been attached be 18 years already. Well, we'll see what happens in 2 years. Well, the main thing I wanted to discuss this week is coming out. Now, this is a show, as you've seen on the channel notes, this is a show for trans people over 50, or anyone really interested in the subject, but primarily aimed at those of us who are over the age of 50. One issue is that younger people who are transitioning simply don't. And one of which is coming out, which can look very, very different for those of us who are of a certain age or above as compared to those of you who are young, in various ways. I don't know exactly what it's like for a young person nowadays to come out. I would suggest, though, that in many respects, it's probably a fair amount easier than it was when I first came out as a gay person in 1974, when I was 16, and back then it was still illegal. Nowadays, there are all kinds of resources, even with the current political regime trying to make life miserable for those of us who are LGBTQ. Attitudes have shifted, strangely enough, in the last 20 years towards a more conservative bent in certain areas of the country. Given the current political regime, it is becoming more and more difficult for those of us who are LGBTQ in general, and as a result, probably more frightening for some of you who are still in the closet for whatever reasons. For me, coming out as a gay person, I simply had no choice. I had to be true to myself, and I was one of the lucky ones. I had a very accepting family, so I had no problem there, and I developed very quickly a set of resources around me, starting through Metropolitan Community Church. Now, this is not a Christian blog or a church blog or anything like that. They just happened to be the primary resource that was the most healthy as compared to, say, going to gay bars or bathhouses or things of that nature, especially for a 16-year-old. So I got involved with the youth group that the church had, and I can tell you it saved my life, literally. And to this day, I'm still in touch with some of the members of that youth group, my contemporaries. So coming out for an older person, in my case anyway, even coming out as trans only a year and a half ago, it didn't seem to shock any of my friends or loved ones. As I had mentioned in my earlier vlog, a lot of them seemed to take it in stride, and even the fact that they weren't surprised by it at all. As a matter of fact, I asked my brother just a little while ago today about what he felt about it. I recorded it as a Zoom call, and maybe you'd like to see it here. Everyone, this is my younger brother, Steve. Part of what's interesting about this situation is Steve and I did not know each other existed. I was raised as an only child, and we finally met in the year 2000, and we've been quite close ever since. I don't know how he felt, though, about me coming out as trans to him. He did know that I was gay right from the start. But, Steve, what was it like when I came out to you as trans?
Well, I would say it was not unexpected. You had discussed many issues about your sexuality openly, and I think it was a natural conclusion of your thought process that you were going to become involved in this journey.
Cool. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, you're ugly.
We know that. That's why I'm trans. Maybe I can make myself glamorous.
Reminds me of an old Rodney Dangerfield joke. He says, "So I went in the psychologist, and he told me I was crazy. I said, Doc, I need a second opinion. And he said, well, you're ugly too."
I got no respect. Just send out Patricia the dancing bear. Steve, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
So that was my younger brother, Steve, and that's how he felt. And his reaction is pretty much reflected by almost everybody who knows me, not just my family. We kind of figured that type of thing. But again, in my case, though, it's different for me. My life is in the past for the most part. I'm 68 years old, don't know how much longer I'm going to live. Could be another 20 years, could be only 5 years, I don't know. But I'm officially retired. I have my little pension. It is nothing. I barely make a living at all, but at least it pays the bills. And so I don't have to worry about a career. I don't have to worry about what people in life think of me, because I've gotten to the age where I tell them, get off my lawn. I don't care what they think of me. I'm enjoying myself, and I'm enjoying exploring my trans aspect. As to coming out for you, I can't tell you what to do, and I'm certainly not a therapist. All I can say is that it generally, in most cases, is better when you come out, especially if you find loved ones who are allies. They can help you in ways that you wouldn't have imagined before you came out. And also, more importantly, I think it's just generally beneficial to one's physical and mental health to be out, to be true to yourself. You breathe easier, you sleep better, you don't have nearly as much acid reflux or ulcers or psychoses or neuroses or whatever other problems you might have because you're holding it in. There are resources out there for you, even despite this political climate. Of course, a lot of that also depends upon where you live. If you're in the major cities, you'll probably be okay, except in a few states. If you're in a rural area, well, I don't know what to tell you. I can say, making that joke about Tehachapi, well, it's a rural area here. This town is about 10,000 people, maybe a few more. And up until just a few years ago, there was a lot of homophobia and a lot of Christian extremism. There's still a certain amount of Christian extremism here, but the homophobia has been damped down quite a bit. And we're seeing a nice growing LGBTQ community here in Tehachapi, and we've even started our own newsletter, which I'm the editor of. So thanks to the communication abilities of the internet, you can find resources and you can find people to be allies. All I can say is that if you would like to offer your stories, please comment. And while you're at it, please like and share if you want. And if you want, you can subscribe. But if you leave a like and a comment, it'll really mean a lot to me. I mentioned a little while ago that my life was behind me. Well, that's not entirely true. I mean, I still have plenty of things to do, and I'm a creative person, so that means I'm going to be doing creative things. But I came up working as an artist, both a fine artist and a graphic artist, and a visual effects artist in the motion picture and TV industries, as well as a photographer. So just for a few more show and tell moments, I'd like to briefly share with you some of my work, some of my paintings, some of my visual effect shots. Thanks for letting me show you that. One thing I also want to talk about in regards to coming out is trauma. I'm sure most of you viewing this have had to deal with some level of gender or sex-based trauma. In my case, I was getting bullied from the age of 4, and it lasted all through school. Eventually, it kind of faded off a bit in the area of junior high and high school when people started realizing the talents that I had and, that I wasn't just some idiot. But at the same time, there were still some that continued bullying, and it didn't stop until I stood up for myself and defended myself. And that is one thing I will say about bullying. From my experience, you cannot reason with a bully. The best way to deal with them if you cannot get away, is to out-bully them. Hard. And if you have to get physical, well, that's an unfortunate thing, but it has happened in my case on a couple of occasions where I've had to get physical with someone who was trying to grab me or harm me or was about to do harm. Those are the times when you have to strike first. And it works. In virtually every case of somebody trying to bully me, the moment I stood up, struck back, and meant it, it stopped for good. That's just my personal experience, and I'm not in any way recommending or advocating violence. I'm simply telling you that bullies don't respond to reason. And if you respond to them with fear or emotion, they thrive on that. So that's been my experience with bullying. As far as trauma itself goes, it's happened to me in both regular life and in work life. I remember one time I was working on a film, walked onto the set, and I started hearing them making all kinds of nasty, several people, including the director, were making nasty remarks about fags and queers, and I don't need to go into further detail, but it made me very uncomfortable on the set. I don't know how anybody else felt, but it was going on for a few minutes. So I left the set, went to the executive producer's office and tried to tell him, and he told me to get out of his office. He didn't want to hear anything about it. So that left me very uneasy for the next couple of weeks on that movie set. Happened again on another movie where a guy who was the gaffer, the head lighting guy, told me that he wanted to kill me because he didn't like queers. And I was presenting as, if not effeminate, then at least fairly gay at that time. It was 1986, and it was a movie in Las Vegas. And I was enjoying myself, and this guy didn't like it, and on several occasions he either screamed at me on the set in front of people or even threatened to beat me up. He wasn't prepared for the fact when I told him, you go right ahead, but I'll swing just as good as you will. So that's happened, and one time at one of the last jobs that I had, I did a photograph that I was a photographer on this job that the person who was sitting in the publisher's seat did not like, and came out into the office, the bullpen where we all sat in our cubicles, and started yelling at me about being a queer and making a fag picture in front of the entire office. That led to my leaving the next day and suing the company. So I've had to deal with that type of thing myself, both in walking the street life and in my career. And your mileage may vary, but I hope that if you've ever had to deal with it, that you manage to get through it with your pride and your dignity intact, because sometimes that's the only thing that we can do. Sometimes it's just a losing proposition no matter what you want to do. And all you can do is look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and know that you tried to do the right thing and maintain your integrity and your dignity. I will say that one thing that also helped me, and again, I can't recommend this to anyone specifically, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but in my experience, by the time I was 16, I was living with such severe PTSD that I was on the verge of something bad, something violent, I'm sure. To give you a little bit of background, I was raised an only child. Didn't know that I had siblings until until the year 2000. But when I was 12, my mom married a man who seemed very charming until the moment the marriage license was signed, and then he became an abusive, dangerous psychopath. Hospitalized my mom very severely on a number of occasions, hospitalized me, was mentally cruel as well, and even he could sense my sexual differences or gender differences. I remember on any number of occasions when I was attending junior high school, he would threaten to send me to school in a dress because, I was a fag. He even tried to sexually assault me once. And after we finally got rid of him, when, again, I finally stood up when I was 15, just about to turn 16, I was still a small kid, and he was a big guy, weighed well over 200 pounds, and had been a former sheriff, so he knew how to subdue somebody, but he stunned the daylights out of him when he tried to beat me up, and I fought back. And I think he saw the handwriting on the wall at that point, and when we got back from the emergency hospital where they had to stitch my skull back up, he was gone, and that was it. And it was just Mom and I. Unfortunately, he left my mom with a severe opioid drug habit due to the severe injuries that he caused with her, and left me with a case of PTSD. And so the only thing that really saved me was cannabis. It was a doctor who gave it to me who lived next door to us, a young emergency room physician. And the very first time the effect hit that I got high, I suddenly got it. I understood why it was popular. And for the first time in my life, I slept a good solid night's sleep with no bad dreams, no insomnia, and I woke up for the very first time ever feeling like $1 million, and it never happened before. It literally saved my life from the PTSD, or at least it helped open the pathways that saved my life. And I will always be an advocate of it and a user of it. Again, your mileage may vary. I don't recommend people use drugs. I don't recommend people drink. I myself will drink a couple of glasses of wine. That's generally about it for me, but I love my cannabis. And so I'm glad that it has been made legal in my state, and I certainly hope that the federal government will finally take it off the schedule and make it completely legal, especially considering how legal alcohol and tobacco products are. That is my editorial opinion, not necessarily CBS's nor the stations you are watching. Well, anyway, so in closing, let me say that we've talked a little about trauma. We've talked about coming out. I've shown you some of my work and explained how it was easier for me because, most of my life was behind me and I have no one to answer to. Again, your mileage may vary. I also want to apologize for my occasional nasal issues. I'm having some sinus problems this week. Anyway, so I just want to thank you for visiting me this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. You can see that I'm wearing some makeup this week, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun with some lipstick tonight. This is my favorite color. I like the blues. So, we'll catch you next week. Shit. Wonder if I can match it. No, that's kind of Joker.